Okay, for this tutorial you will need 16 gauge round wire. You're going to cut that wire to 2 pieces. Each piece is going to be 6¼ inches long. Okay, that's for each hoop, 6¼ 6.25 inches long. Then you're going to need tubing as well. This is the tubing. It's a heavy wall tubing. The part number is right there. This is exactly what you need. And you're going to need also the drawing tools, which consist of the drawing plate and the tong, so we can draw that 16 gauge wire down. I chose 16 gauge wire, and I drew it down to 0.95. Yeah, it was 0.95. Usually I make my hoops thicker because I am used to wear thicker ear wires. They really don't bother me anymore because I've been using it for so long. Not that my tiny piercings are huge, but they are used to that kind of. I can wear even 2mm wire through my piercings, so I'm used to that. But for those that are not, this hoops are going to be thin, actually, and I don't recommend for hoops to make them less than 0.95 because they're going to be very flimsy. They're going to lose their shape, and I think having a sturdy piece is the best, you know? Okay, so like I said, let's recap. You're going to need 16 gauge round wire and draw it down to 0.95. I have this tools. Okay, I like to draw it down from 16 because it makes the wire harder. Now I'm taking the wires that I have for each hoop, and I am going to solder them together to make a nice circle by tapping them on a big mandrel, on a hoop mandrel or bracelet mandrel, and make them really round. Okay, so here are the 2 hoops that I soldered and then shaped on the mandrel, as you saw, and they are 0.95. Okay, so what we're going to do now is that we are going to cut the wire right there where I soldered, right? I'm going to take I would say like a 5mm chunk out of that. That'll be 5mm. This is right here. Sorry. This right there is the solder, right? I kind of flattened it, and it looks really flat with that little blob there. And this one as well. Okay, so I'm going to cut right there. I did this with easy solder, okay? So it ran fast and I stopped because the wire is very thin, 0.95. Like I said, these hoops are for people that cannot thread through their ears like really thick post or the same hoop, you know. So I made it for those people that cannot stand thick wire or anything through their piercings on their earlobes, right? So we have this really feathery, you know, weight hoops, okay? So we're going to make a really cool connection. I have here this tubing. Actually, I soldered a little piece of wire here so I could manage it through the rolling mill, because what I did is that I do not have a rolling mill for round wire, and actually the tubing was impossible for me to, made it impossible because I don't have the right size. I was trying to draw it down with my drawing plate, but it didn't work. So I said, okay, what the heck? I'm gonna try to draw it down on my rolling mill, and I used a square. I know this tubing is round, okay, but it was not exactly the size that I needed for the 0.95, so I drew it down close to that 0.95, a little bit smaller, so I could drill down. Actually, it gave me a textured because it was through the square lines, or the drawing line, the drawing square. I drew it square, so the round became square. Okay, so it has this little texture, but I think it's a really cool texture. You know, it's really cool. But I'm gonna, soften the outside of the tubing a little bit so I get these edges that are kind of sharp. Not really, they're not really sharp, but I'm just gonna smooth it out a little bit. And after I cut this piece, I'm gonna show you what to do next. Okay, so what I did is that you see there is the solder right there on each hoop, right? So I marked it with a Sharpie, a long line, like a 1-inch line, right? Just to mark where I want to do the cuttings, okay? So what I did is I am going to take this shank tool that I have. This is for resizing rings or sizing rings. So I'm gonna cut a space in between. Okay. I'm going to do the actually I'm going to do the widest of them, which is this one. Okay, you can do this with a caliper too. I was just using this because it was handy. So right there, where I have the solder and the mark, I'm going to get in the middle, and I'm going to mark this line. Okay, I'm going to eliminate that solder from there, and this is what I got marked. I don't know if you see it. Okay, I marked it there. I'm going to mark the other one too, so they both have the same opening size. Okay, so go there and mark it too. So I am going to cut that down. Okay, so I'm going to use this beautiful cutter. It's a Lindstrom plier, and it's really nice for cutting thin wire. It just perfect. It's just a flush cutter. So where I have the lines, I'll just cut, right? And I'm going to cut this side too, right? So I still keep my hoop, right? I'm going to cut the other side. I mean, not the other side, but the other hoop on both sides. Always trying to keep, if not, we will just take it to the mandrel and we will reshape the hoop, okay? Close it a little bit more by tapping. Okay, so I just move it very softly, handle it softly, so you bring back the hoop to its place, okay? All right. It's pretty right there. We'll try to keep both of them in the same shape, okay? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm going to have to close a little bit more. Just handle it. Yeah, really nice. Both of them are pretty. See? They have that opening right there. Okay, so now we are going to prepare our tubing, okay, to solder it to one of the ends of each hoop, okay? So I did not have the right tubing for that wire in my studio, so I used this wire, and I put it through one that would be almost exact to it, and I drew it down, and I measured it. I went ahead and tested the end of the hoop and see if it fit a little bit, not a little bit, if it fit tight, I'm sorry, and it didn't. So I came back and moved to the next one down, a little, moving in and out, making it smaller, and this is what I got. This one here. This one here. You see, it's square. So the hole is a little bit smaller, but I can drill it, so I can make that end of the hoop fit through there, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so remember that I used the widest of the ring sizers, so I'm going to mark 2 pieces the same size, okay? I'm going to mark 2 pieces in the same size. One, and the next one. And the second one. So I have my calipers here, and I'm going to start measuring these. This is 0.67. I'm going to start with this one. Okay, I'm going to drill a hole. Not a hole. I'm going to drill that hole a little bit larger. And I take that piece of tubing with my parallel pliers, and then I'm going to drill through that hole that's in there, right, very carefully, all the way through, okay? And I'm going to wiggle it a little bit and then test my hoop wire through there. Here it is, already drilled through, and then it does go through. I want to make it a little bit bigger, so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to change the drill bit size. I'm just going to wiggle a little bit inside of that tubing to make it a little bit wider, okay? I'll go all the way through and wiggle. I don't want to use a bigger one because it'll make a bigger hole. And I'm going to test my hoop again. Still, I'm going to change actually the sides. I'm going to turn it around and drill from the other side, okay? Coming in from the other end of the tubing. I want a little bit more. Wiggling a little bit. Not too much, okay? Very carefully. You don't want to go through that tubing. All right. Test again. It's getting better. I'm going to turn it around a little again. And I'm going to do this same procedure to the other square, I would say cap or connector. That's not a little cap, isn't it? It's a connection. What's wrong with me? Okay, perfect. See, it goes all the way through. I don't know if you can see it. goes all the way through. Just working, okay? See? It goes all the way through. This is what you want. It goes all the way through. Okay? So I'm going to do that to the same, to the other piece of tubing, okay? How perfect it looks. It fits perfect. Right? That's the square. See how cute? So you're going to see that, you see this is the tubing. So you're going to push it only a tiny bit because you want to leave all that space inside of the tubing so you can thread as far as you can the other side, okay, which will keep your hoop connected, this end to the other end, so you can close your hoop, okay? So what I do, right, is make the hoop as perfect as I can. Again, round it on your mandrel to make it really round, and then you're going to apply paste solder inside of that tubing. You know, you're going to do easy solder, and then you're going to thread it just, I would say, a quarter in, right? It's kind of a little bit wobbly. It's not wobbly, but you know, it's not all the way through. So that's what you're going to do. You know, only a quarter into the tube. You're going to leave all that other 3/4, which will be the space, and a good space to secure the other side of the hoop. Okay? Now you take your 2 hoops and the little square tubings, right, to your station, and you're going to use, I'm going to use this soft solder, easy solder, okay, to connect those tubings to your hoop, okay? So I'll show you. So you will take this solder, right, and get a little tiny bit of it, your pick, right, and take your tubing and put that solder in there, okay, as much as you can. You can use a little needle as well to push it in there. I don't have one handy right now. I should have, but anyway, we're going to do this. And you're going to take a little bit more, right, and you're gonna, of course you're going to put it, I mean, your hoop is a needle actually. Okay, so you put a little bit on the hoop, on one side, okay, on one side of the hoop. Okay, and then you're going to take it and, like I said, thread it, but only a quarter in. Make it totally straight, okay, like a square. Don't make it a diamond, a square. Okay, so it's in there, look. Right? It's just a quarter in. Make sure it's a quarter in, okay? Do that one, and now we're gonna do the next one. Get some easy solder. Oops, sorry. Put it right there on the very end. Okay, and get your tubing as well. Push a little bit in there just to help. Probably it's not that necessary, but I'll do it because already the tubing has enough. Okay, so you thread it again. This one, not again, but this one. Okay, and test. That's a quarter in. And straight, okay? Totally squared. Okay, so we don't need flux because you know that this type of solder already has their flux. We don't need it. So now we're going to solder. already gone. Just burning that solder. Good. Okay, I finished soldering like you saw, but then I saw a little gap, right there, right there, right there. And then I went in and I placed a little bit of that easy solder there in a paste, and I did flow that too on both. Okay, so I did that on both hoops, as you see, to make it more secure. Okay, so both hoops now are soldered, and we're going to pickle them, and after that we're going to finish them. I have to make that other end. I'm going to use a cup burr to make it really pretty and round so it doesn't bother or bother you when you thread it, okay? Alright, we'll do that. Let's pickle. After I took them out of the pickle, I rinsed them, and then I'm going to throw it here in this magnetic tumbler for about 10 minutes, and I'll check then to see how they look. If not, I'll put them maybe for 10 minutes more, and then I will do the finishing touches. Here are the hoops after polishing them in the magnetic tumbler. I left them there probably for 30 minutes, checking in every 10, and this is the result. Very beautiful, very shiny. They're very delicate. So anyway, I am going to take a cup burr like this one here, which is the one that fits perfectly, that wire. So I'm going to make a really rounded point, so it's soft and has no edges or bumps, so it doesn't hurt you when you're threading them, okay, on your in your piercings. Okay, so this is the cut burrs that I used. I have this, I bought this at Rio, and let's do that. So we take this out of the tubing, right? And then I have the cut burr right here, and then I'm going to work on that end. For a little while. It's really quick actually because it's so thin, it doesn't take too much. It doesn't take too much. Okay, we have a pretty end right now. It's really rounded. I don't think you can see it really well, but it's really rounded. And then I'm gonna push it in there, and I do the next one. The next one, I got it out. Oh, I'm sorry. So, work on that one too. That's pretty neat too. That's done. It's a pretty end. And then you pop it right in there. And there you have it. You have two beautiful hoops there. See how pretty that is? See, you pop it out, and then you pop it back in. Oops.